The first time I saw it, there was this 14-year-old girl was sitting on the lap of like this 70-year-old guy from I think Great Britain. And so you pull those kids out, and we put those kids in a safe location. And the mom's in jail. She gets arrested. Obviously, like the evidence against her with the videos and everything is sufficient to put that lady away for 20 years.
And welcome to Game Changers live from our home studio on the campus of FIU's College of Communications, Architecture, and the Arts. My name is Sergio Tigera, your host, and today we have a truly inspiring guest joining us, someone who has dedicated his life to fighting one of the darkest injustices in the world, human trafficking. Tyler Schwab, he's the CEO of Libertas International. It's a nonprofit organization that rescues and rehabilitates children who have been victims of trafficking and exploitation. Through investigative work, rescue missions, survivor aftercare, and legal advocacy, Libertas is making a real impact in the fight against modern-day slavery. And Tyler's journey into this work is nothing short of remarkable, honestly. What started as a personal calling turned into a full-fledged mission to give him freedom and hope to the most vulnerable. His team has worked across Latin America and beyond, rescuing victims, helping bring traffickers to justice, and ensuring survivors have the support they need to heal and rebuild their lives. So today we're going to go a little deep into the reality of human trafficking, the challenges of this fight, and some of the inspiring stories of resilience and hope that keep Tyler and his team moving forward. So my friend, honored to have you here on the show.
No, that's a very nice intro. Thank you for having me on the Gamechangers podcast. I'm very honored to be here.
So where are you calling me from, bud? Where are you located right now?
I'm calling you from Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I'm currently in the States doing some fundraising. Wyoming is where I'm from. And so naturally when I fundraise, I hit up my hometowns and travel the state and brave those snowy roads to hopefully find some money to continue to support these amazing survivors.
So tell us about the journey. What started, to lead you to starting this Libertas International?
Yeah, I grew up, being from Wyoming, pretty sheltered, like very small town kid. I had an idea of what poverty was, but what poverty was, it wasn't what it was compared to like how the rest of the world lives. And I was just traveling, I was in the Dominican Republic, and I saw human trafficking. I saw little girls were being sold to European men. The first time I saw it, there was like this 14-year-old girl was sitting on the lap of like this 70-year-old guy from I think Great Britain. And they were kissing and it was public and both of them were drinking. And I was just like, this is such a weird thing. Like,
Jeez.
what is going on here? But it's just in my ignorance, I was putting the blame on the girl, where it's like she must be just a gold digger or something. She must be looking for an older man to help finance her life or what it was. And I had that thought until I actually sat down with someone that was being exploited. The first time I actually sat down with someone and they told me their story, I was leading a little 13-year-old girl in this brothel. I went inside just to try to research and to try to find out more about what was happening, what was occurring, and why these girls would be with these older men. And the first time I sat down with this girl, she told me it was like, I don't have any choice on who I'm with every single night. I came here under a guise of a job. They told me I was going to do something different. I can't say no if the guy is disgusting, if the guy is old, if he's overweight. I can't say no. I'm abused 5 or 6 times a day, have to do whatever he says. And they say that if I don't do it, then they will go get my little sister or they'll kill me. And just, you hear that for the first time, like being 21 or 22, however old I was just so shocked that that was the reality for so many different people. And the further I, dug into the issue and the more I researched and the more people I talked to, just the more convicted I was. It's just such an injustice. It's modern day slavery. And at the time, 2013 continues into 2025. And at that point, I knew I wanted to do something to help. I didn't know how to go about helping. But that's how it started. And it started with just talking with someone that was being victimized by these people.
Having a daughter myself that's 12, I can't even imagine, it cuts me so deep just listening to these stories that these young girls are put in situations that they didn't want to be in and they don't feel like they have any escape from it, especially at that age where you don't really comprehend the gravity of the situation perhaps and what your options are. You don't feel like you have any options at that point, and who can help you. They feel completely helpless at this point. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, it's modern day slavery. Like they are trapped in a circle of abuse, of poverty, of all these different things, and it's these people that are exploiting them are true monsters. Like there's a guy from Miami who's one of just the worst pieces of crap that I've ever come across. He's currently awaiting trial in Miami, but he was traveling from Miami to Colombia to find girls that were around. His preferred age was, I believe, 9 years old to 12 years old. The 12-year-old was like the max, like that was as old as he wanted them. And his texts were released to the public as far as like his communication with his these pimps that were finding these 12-year-old girls for him. And he's just cruel. He's cruel, he's evil, and he would travel with a bunch of iPhone 6s, and he would tell this pimp, tell this girl who's 12 that I don't want her to cry this time. And if she cries, she doesn't get an iPhone 6. So these people are just like these girls, these kids, they're nothing more than just commodities to abuse in exchange for sometimes as little as an iPhone 6.
So, what did you do in your first case when you decided, okay, I want to do something about this? Because that seems like such an insurmountable task when you're living in the US and you're trying to help some, one young girl in a poverty-stricken country or city or town where the problem is global, right? What made you think that, okay, let me start with one and then keep building this up? How did you even get started with that?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I struggled. Like I had no idea how to do it. I just knew that this thing was happening. I wanted to help, like just the desire to want to help. And after talking with one of these victims, you just want to do all you can to help them survive this abuse and to have the resources to actually go on with their lives and live a normal life. And so the first thing I did was just ask my friends for money. I was like, look, I have this idea. I have these people that want to help, but I need money to do it. And at 21, 22, I had no idea how to start a nonprofit. I had no idea how to do any of that. Still don't. Honestly, I still don't.
Still
But
figuring it out.
yeah, still figuring out. Let you know what I figured out. But I just do the whole GoFundMe thing or PayPal or like any of these things that existed a lot like back in the day of how people raise money for different causes. And I just started, raising money and finding myself connected with more and more victims, more and more survivors. And we're the first case that really just I was like, well, I have this funding now. How do I get these people to a safe place? And it was a case, going back to the Dominican Republic, it was a case back there, and it was a truly horrific case. It was a case of a mother who was exploiting her two daughters. Her daughters were 7 and 5, and she was hosting a like a Facebook webcam chat where these people from Pittsburgh would connect and they would request that the 7-year-old do sexual acts on the 5-year-old. And based on every sexual act that they would do, the mom would get payments in either cryptocurrency or PayPal or whatever. And
Jesus Christ.
and yeah, it was horrific. And even when we went into that house, just a true just house of horrors. It was like
So
this little
you
shack.
went in there yourself. You physically flew to the DR, and did you go there with the police? Like, how did you
Yeah,
even find out about that case?
it was through my relationship with the police. Like we
Okay.
always, Libertas and myself, we always want to work conjointly with the police. Like we don't want to be like the vigilantes or anything. We want to
Hmm.
support them whenever their needs are. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's training, and sometimes it's just being present to where we can offer some kind of aftercare on site. And that's what we did specifically with this case. Like they were doing the case, they were doing the investigation, and when we found out that there were these two little girls and the little brother wasn't part of the exploitation, but he still lived in that house at a
Hmm.
year and a half old. He was witnessing everything that was going on. They asked that we support them in figuring out how we can help these kids once they're pulled out of this situation. So we go in and just a true house of horrors, man. Like just a horrific place, this little shack in the middle of nowhere, just dirty, food rotting on the floor. And then there's this bed with this web camera attached to the end of it where the abuse would take place. And so you pull those kids out, and we put those kids in a safe location. And the mom's in jail. She gets arrested. Obviously, like the evidence against her with the videos and everything is sufficient to put that lady away for 20 years. But then you have these three kids, and
Yeah, what do
they
you do
have
with these
needs.
kids? Yeah,
Exactly. So
that's the
so in our
hard part.
case, yeah, and that's where I think the real rescue happens. Like, yeah, you have to remove those kids from the trafficker, from their mother, from these different people, but then like you have to give them the tools to rebuild their life. And that's what we did. They were little, so it's not like you can like send them to college or send them like any kind of vocational training, but you can make it so they're together. We wanted to keep the siblings together. You can make sure that the house that's housing them has resources to take care of them, that the house has food, that they have some way to make extra money, and you can help meet those physical needs as well.
Hmm.
One of which specifically was the little boy. He's blind as a bat, and so we had to get him special prescription glasses, and he's so little that you have to get like those
Wow.
like the scrunchie that goes around his head so
Yeah.
he can't take them off as easy. And that's what we did. That's what we did with those kids. They're still with us now. They're a little older now. The oldest girl is around 13, 14 years old. She actually through there's this internship program that she has where she actually came and got to see like what a real family looks like up in Nebraska is where she went.
Wow.
So now she's no longer the kid that was abused or the kid that was an orphan. Now she's the girl that's been in the United States, which really helps her personal reputation in school as well.
Sure.
So yeah, that's what we do. We just try to walk with them individually, supporting their specific needs. But I'll never forget my first case because it was so horrific, and those kids are still with us to this day.
Wow. I mean, it's a beautiful story of in terms of what you were able to create in their lives and that sense of hope and normalcy. Because I think at that age, maybe they thought, okay, this is normal. Like this is what my mom is telling me to do, and I should do it, and not really kind of perhaps feeling that this is wrong somehow. But you know, at that age, you're so prone to being, you know, guided and impressed by others that you don't really understand what's happening. And so now, you put them in foster care or in some kind of, homes that people take them in, different families. How does that work?
Yeah, so in this case, and you're absolutely right. Like just you have to like the mental health aspect of this and the deprogramming of
It's huge.
their life. It's huge. It's massive. It's almost the most important thing because we noticed, different things with these girls that had some very sexualized behavior at such a young age because they've been exposed to this for so long. Like this specific girl, the 7-year-old that was forced to abuse her little sister, we took her to the mall one day just to, just go see the mall and go maybe get like a hot dog or something in the Dominican Republic. And she went up to this guy, this stranger, and she was getting ready to touch his penis. And we pulled her back. We were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, don't do that! Like, what are you like?
Yeah.
What's going on?" And she was like, "I'm hungry." And I was like, "Well, you vocalize that. You say I'm hungry. Can we get the hot dog now? I'm tired of walking around. I'm hungry." And she was like, "Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know. It's just in my house when I was hungry, I had to do something sexual to get
Oh my
food."
God.
And so that's what she was used to. Like that for her, that was normal.
That's
And so for
horrific.
us, like we really had to, yeah, it's awful. And we really had to invest a lot like in this little girl to deprogram that where it's like you can just say you're hungry. Like that's okay. You don't have to do anything in return. Like this the help that we're giving you, you don't have to send pictures, you don't have to do anything sexual or physical. You don't have to say thank you, honestly. Like
Yeah.
this help is totally for free and a safe relationship, a healthy relationship between healthy adults and children is when they offer something to you without expectation of anything in return.
Right.
Um, and so her case, like we partnered with a really good organization in the Dominican Republic. And this organization, it's like an orphanage is probably the thing I would compare it most to. That's for survivors of human trafficking in the Dominican Republic. And so they're the ones that continue to house her. And we partner with them to make sure that they have enough funding and they have enough basic needs to support
Mm.
this little family.
Wow, that's amazing. In working in this kind of environment on a daily basis, how do you stay motivated and hopeful, right? Where you just keep running into this garbage, humanity, right? And what they're doing to these children. That's got to be very difficult to, how does that work in your mind, right?
Yeah, there's an old saying it's someone quote like I'll forget the name of the guy that quoted it, but it's like if you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss stares back.
Mm,
And it's true. Like I felt that at times in the past where my mental health like wasn't super great. I've had girls pass away. I've had girls that have taken their own life. I've had girls that were taken from us by their trafficker. The trafficker murdered them or something. And that just that weighs a lot like on your soul. It weighs a lot on your mind, on your heart, and then just the stories, even the ones that are doing well, like to know like where they came from, like you really have to make sure that these stories they stay in your heart but not in your head. Um,
Hmm.
and so I have my thing where it's like I love really loud music. I love to go on walks. I love to hike. I love to work out. I love to do podcasts, with people like you.
Hmm.
I love to talk about movies. I love to, binge watch a good TV show to kind of get myself out of my own head.
Right,
Um,
right.
and then it's just you just and I've had moments where it's like I'm done. Like I don't want to do this anymore. Just it's too much. I'm gonna go back to school and do something else. But there's always something that just like kind of pulls you back in. Like I'll be honest, like 3 or 4 months ago, I was getting ready to just call it quits. I was like, okay, I've given this 14 years. I think I'm at my limit. I don't know if I could do anymore. Um, and I had this case that came across my desk from a friend of mine that involved a girl that was trafficked by her uncle to the Taliban, and the
Oh my
Taliban gang raped
gosh.
her, and it had left her without the ability to walk. The assault was so violent that she can't physically walk anymore. Now that she's lost the ability altogether, but without proper medical care, she probably won't walk again. But there's hope for her. So she tells about this case and how they need to raise all this money to get her to India, where she can actually get medical care that can actually fix her ability to walk and to repair the damage done to her. And man, how do you say no to that? Like you just can't do it.
Right.
Like how do you look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what, like I put my line right here and I had to say no to this person. So I said yes, and it's been awesome. Like we're on that path to raising that money to get this family out of Afghanistan so this girl can get support. And once you see moments like that where like a family in Afghanistan who's been trapped by the Taliban for 20 years has hope to leave, or you see a girl celebrate a 15th birthday party, you see a girl finally not touch someone's penis to
Yeah.
express she's hungry. She just says, I'm hungry, I want to eat. Like, okay, let's go eat. Like moments like that are what keep me in it truly, because those moments wouldn't exist unless someone like Libertas International had intervened on their behalf.
Yeah. And so how many girls have you worked with or made attempts to recover and rescue over the years?
The number, I looked to like quantify that last year as far as like the number that we've supported as a whole in the last 12, 11 years is probably around 1,000 survivors of human
Oh
trafficking.
my gosh. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
and currently we're actively supporting right now, like just doing casework for around 100 and 114. They're active cases. They're still with us. They're still keeping on the good fight, and that are receiving their healing through us. And then as far as like girls that we have assisted in pulling out of exploitation, like I guess the word is rescue, the ones that we've actually rescued,
Hmm.
is probably around 160 at this point. And then the perpetrators that we've helped put behind bars with the collaboration of law enforcement, obviously, is around 100.
Wow. That's unbelievable. I mean, you've done some incredible work in that space, and so many, young girls and then soon to be women, right, can owe a debt of gratitude for your willingness to help out. And so, is there a typical recovery operation? Is there a kind of standard operating procedures here, or is every single case unique that, okay, we have to look at it? What does that look like?
Yeah, every single case is a little bit unique. Like I'll give you like two examples where um, there was a recovery operation that we did with a with the Guatemalan police. And this trafficking ring was run by the MS-13 gang.
Mm,
And so, like in that case, like you obviously want to proceed with a lot of caution and a lot of law enforcement support because the MS-13 gang are not someone to be messed with. And so, like in this case, it was like 14, armored trucks, and maybe a little bit overboard, but you never know with these people.
sure.
14 armored trucks, 100 Guatemalan police, myself, and a couple other aftercare professionals that could provide support to the survivors. And we arrive on scene, and obviously it's a very intense scene. So the survivors are very scared. They're worried that they're in trouble. Sometimes they're worried that even like the cops are on the bad guy's payroll. And so in that case, the process is always the same, where you remove survivors from the situation where like the search warrant's going on or the trafficker's viewpoint, and you just make sure they have their basic needs met: food, water, medical care, and you let them know they're not in trouble. So that's similar along like both spheres.
Hmm.
On the other end of the spectrum, like there's cases involving American citizens overseas. And with those, you go in with maybe a little less firepower, but you go in with more collaboration. Like I think of one that I went on last year with a guy from Florida actually. He's lived in Colombia for a long time. He abused a lot of kids down there, and he's violent, former military guy, just an evil person. And in that case, like the Americans want their pound of flesh because the Americans obviously want to make sure that we protect other countries from our citizens as well. You got the nonprofit their support, the embassy support, the Colombian police that go in, and you go in there with a little less firepower, but more collaborative with different people wanting to be involved. In that case, we went in and the guy, just starts berating the police and being like, you guys have no proof. You guys have no proof. You guys are just here to screw me up because, you guys don't like the way American lives and the Americans can do whatever they want or whatever. And we go in there, he's yelling at us that we have no proof. We found him on scene at 6 a.m. in the morning with a 16-year-old girl who with special needs.
Oh my God.
Like,
Those
bro,
things.
like we have proof. Like, we wouldn't have broken the door down if we didn't have proof. We find this little girl in his house. And so, but the process is the same. You remove her from his gaze, you remove her from his presence where she can feel safe, where she can feel comfortable, make
Yeah.
sure her basic needs are met. And you let law enforcement do their thing where they search the house, they interview the perp. Um, but our process, as far as like Libertas is concerned, is always the same. Make sure the girls are safe, protected, and they know that they're not the ones in trouble.
Wow. Yeah, so there's an ongoing debate about the role of social media and technology in enabling and combating traffic, right? And trafficking. What are your thoughts on this, and how can these platforms be held accountable? What do you think from your experience?
In my experience, the social media companies don't invest near enough in the anti-trafficking effort. Like I'll be honest, I want them to start writing checks to like groups in Miami or groups in Thailand or whoever, because they have more money than God, and that's really where you make a big impact is them putting their money where their mouth is, because they talk a good game until they're brought on Capitol Hill, for example. Like when Mark Zuckerberg went to Capitol Hill and was berated by both sides, both the left and the right of why his platform doesn't do more to protect kids. And it's true. Like when we with this guy in Florida, for example, when we arrested him, we got into his Facebook account. He was friends with a lot of his victims on Facebook, and the algorithm just continued to pump him more friend suggestions of vulnerable girls living in that country. You get companies like
So the social media is basically feeding him potential
new
victims.
victims. Mhm.
Jeez.
Airbnb is a good example where, the hotel industry has kind of taken a lot of heat over the last 20 years of the abuse that they allowed in their locations. And they're a lot more proactive now of protecting their locations. Obviously, a lot of this comes from like lawsuits and liability and stuff. You like to think they do it with good intent, but
Hmm.
until you start affecting their bottom line, we don't see a
Right.
lot of changes in these places. And so hotels have done okay. It's Airbnb is the new place where abuse happens across the world because you can check in without ever having to meet your host. They give you the code.
Right.
There's no cameras. There's nothing. You just go in, do whatever you want, and then
Wow.
no one knows any better. So the Airbnb, we like to see more effort on their part too, because that's where a lot of the traffickers now are going to abuse their victims. Is they just rent an Airbnb for a week, abu pimp out their victims in these Airbnbs, and then move on. And then like the last thing I'll mention is just porn companies. So Libertas, we have some survivors that are with us that are in an active lawsuit against Pornhub specifically, because Pornhub hosted their abuse material for a long time and then never removed it, to
Wow.
where they never verified consent or age. Like one of these little girls in our program, she's 13 when she was abused by this guy from New York named Victor Galarza. He would take the images, he would upload to Pornhub, and they would go viral. They'd go viral. They'd be seen by 2 million people. They would stay up. People would take screenshots, and Pornhub never verified the consent, never verified the age. And when they reached out to Pornhub saying, "Hey, take these down," Pornhub got back to them in 9 months, 10 months with a response of like, because we can't verify who you are, we won't take down the video. So we're doing our best
Wow.
to hold them accountable as well.
Unbelievable. And human trafficking isn't just an international issue. It's happening in our own backyard in the US. It's it's not something that we see, right, on a day-to-day basis. So it doesn't really enter our conscious, so to speak. When we walk around the malls, obviously, different locations where it's really busy, especially here in Miami. I always have my kids close because, man, in an instant they could be scooped up, right? So I mean, you're seeing a lot of human trafficking in the U.S. as well, right?
Yeah, one of the most horrific cases that I've ever experienced in the US actually happened, just not far from Wyoming out in Salt Lake City. And this girl's another girl that's still with us after 8 years of working through her program to get better. I remember she came into my office and she was just this little thing and just had no confidence at all. And she told us a story of just how her mom was selling her to a child pornographer in Salt Lake in exchange for him paying her cell phone bill, like 60 bucks,
Unreal.
60 bucks. So that he'll cover her Verizon account with unlimited data to do whatever the hell she was doing. In the meantime, he gets to take her every weekend to his cabin out in a different part of Salt Lake City where he abuses her himself, films the abuse, and then sells it on the internet, sells it on the dark web or the public web or wherever he was selling
Unbelievable.
it. And so she, she's one of my heroes. First off, like she was trafficked right here in the United States. She was trafficked by her own mother again, and in the public eye, like this girl went to middle school. She went to elementary school while she was being trafficked. She was just trafficked after hours. She really was hidden in plain sight. And I'll never forget, we walked with her through the court process, and we invited members of our organization to sit with her in court, as well as a partner organization, Bikers Against Child Abuse. And when she got up there on the stand and she was questioned by the defense attorney, and she told exactly what happened with, as brave as she could, being a 14-year-old kid in the presence of a judge, these lawyers, law students, myself, and members of this biker gang that protects kids from child abuse. I don't think I've ever seen anything so impactful in my life because it was like this reverence to her of everybody was there and knowing that she was the strongest person in that room. And she told her truth. She answered the defense attorney's questions in a really dignified way, despite him, trying to get her to misstep or to say something she didn't mean, or to get angry or to get frustrated or to get sad.
Hmm.
And and even now, like, 8 years later, I'm still so very proud of her. But she was trafficked here in the United States, and she was trafficked right under the noses of her teachers, her family, everybody. Like nobody would have known unless people knew those signs of what to look for.
And what are those signs that we should be looking for to think, okay, this person might be in danger?
Yeah, so some of the signs that I always give to people, like just a quick five, I think that people can look out for to know if someone's being exploited is one, that they're a foreign national. If they don't have possession over their own documents, they're almost for sure being trafficked because what pimps and traffickers and abusers do is they hold on to those documents for their victims,
Mm,
usually under threat of deportation. For a lot of people that have a barcode or that have someone's name tattooed on them, it's a strange name. I met a girl once in Miami on the streets in Miami who had not a barcode, but she had someone's name that was his name was like Henry or something. And I was like, "Well, who's Henry?" She's like, "Oh, he's my boyfriend. He's the one that handles my money for me." And come to find out that Henry had I think 7 or 8 girls that were working for him that he would brand them with his signature tattoo.
geez, like
Nowadays, like
property.
yeah, exactly. That's all they all are to these people. There's things that people can notice. If kids have like an obscene amount of cash on them, they seem overly tired, they have unexplained bruises on them, if they're overly sexualized. Like
Hmm.
one of the things that like this girl from Salt Lake taught me is like you can see the difference of when I was being trafficked in child pornography and child sexual abuse material is what we call it now from before I was being trafficked because you look at the pictures. Picture one, it's like an innocent kid, smile, throw up a peace sign or something, just an
Yeah.
innocent, whatever picture. Versus like when she was being trafficked, she was groomed into looking sexy for her cameras. And so even when she was taking normal pictures, she had that look of someone who's trying to appear seductive, was trying to appear
Right.
sexy, was trying to,
Kind of lost their innocence.
yes. And you could tell it like in pictures. And when she taught me that, that's something I look at now just because of the trauma in my head of
Like
when
a
you see,
telltale sign.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's just stuff like that. It's ways that normal people like us can just be observant of the people in our circle and to always follow like that feeling in your gut. If you feel like
Mm.
something's off, just to follow it.
Yeah. And then, but what do you do as, a normal person, right? You see that, you ask them if they need help. Why would they trust, you know, somebody up from the street to give up their secret because they may feel threatened. They may not. You may just say, no, no, I'm good. Right? I mean, how does that happen?
For sure. Yeah, there are times where I've had people like on the streets go up to someone and say, "You okay? You need help?" And usually that interaction, the safest place, honestly, that usually happens where someone actually discloses what's happening is in a bathroom, like in a mall or something. Like if you see someone that looks distraught in a bathroom and they're alone, they may open up, they may not.
Mhm.
Two, there's a hotline people can call. It's a human trafficking hotline that can fast track those tips to whatever law enforcement agency is closest to wherever you're calling from.
Right.
But probably the most quick method is just to call law enforcement yourself. Is just to report what's happening and request assistance. Like this is why we pay taxes. This is why law enforcement
Sure.
exists, for things like that. And I had a law enforcement person give a training out in Wyoming once of just because I think people are respectful of law enforcement as well. It's like I don't want to waste their time. I don't want them to give them like a false lead. It's a fine way of thinking, I guess, like respectful. But the law enforcement person that was giving the training told us, I'd rather that I get 10 fake ones that I actually looked into
Hmm.
versus like I missed the real one because
Right.
someone decided not to report.
Yeah. And you spoke at the United Nations recently on human trafficking. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I definitely was the odd fish there. Like just a kid from Wyoming. I just didn't feel like I belonged there because the UN is first off, let me say it was an amazing experience. And I was so honored to be there and to share the stories of our survivors at such a big stage where some of the most powerful people can listen to what you have to say. It's by far the most political event I've ever attended. Just I had to dress just very very nice. It's very political. That's the structure is put in place to where no one leaves with their feelings hurt. You cannot
Hmm.
call out like specific countries because I have this pitch I usually give where a lot of my cases involve American citizens traveling to the developing world to abuse girls in Guatemala or Thailand or Colombia or wherever. And I had to have this coach at the UN practice my speech where I was like, well, you can't call out the United States because they give a lot of funding to us, and you can't call out Colombia or you might offend them for not investing enough in their
Yeah,
populations
you need to
so they're
walk on
not so poor.
eggshells.
Yeah, it was so I was like, well, what can I say? It's like, well, you can say that you work to combat trafficking from people from the developing world who travel or the developed world to travel to the developing world to abuse children. And I was like, but that's so like generic. It's like
Yeah.
that's what it is. That's what it is. And I was like, okay, well, I can say that. So I said that. I was nervous, so I quoted like some Marvel movies to kind of lower my own nerves
Mm.
because I was in that room, and I mean, there are people in that room that had worked to get in that room in that meeting for 40 years.
Hmm.
Uh, and just the fact that I was there, at 33, I think is when I was, like when I spoke there. Like I didn't want to, the moment was not lost on me. But the best part of that whole trip is that I got to bring two survivors that I'd helped rescue with me that want to be like social workers and activists and all these different things. And to have them like standing by my side and then to have them share their stories with the world, that's what meant most to me. Because I was like, if it was just for these two, that we could rescue these two from hell, and now they're at the UN sharing what they're doing to make the world a better place. Like if it was just for these two, it was all worth it.
That's fantastic, man. So if somebody wants to get involved with Libertas International, what's the most impactful way they can support your mission?
Yeah, I mean, the most impactful way, and I know this is super cliche with like a lot of nonprofits, but it's to become a monthly donor at our website, libertasinternational.org. Those monthly donors, that people that give anywhere between $5 a month to $500 a month and everything in between, that allows us to plan for new survivors that come into our program every single month, and just allows us to plan ahead to where we can continue to accept girls that need help because these girls that come to us asking for help, they've been rejected, they've been abused, they've gone through the ringer just at such a young age. And we always want to be a safe place for them to be able to say, yes, here you're welcome, here you're supported, here you're respected. and we're going to help you without asking anything in return. And that only happens with donations. So the most impactful way is libertasinternational.org to go visit our website and to make a donation or sign up to become a monthly donor. We're also on all of social media. We're TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We have a podcast people can listen to learn more about the work that we do and the people that we partner with. And if people want to get involved in their own communities, like there's tons of anti-trafficking nonprofits in Miami, in Ohio, in Wyoming, like wherever you may be located, they offer in-person opportunities to work with survivors, and they're always in need. People are always in need of just specific items, specific donations. And then honestly, this is what I tell people as well. Most of the kids that are rescued here in the United States are sent to foster care. And so any way that people can invest in the foster care system, whatever that may be, more likely than not, you're helping a kid that's been trafficked, and that now lives in the foster care system.
Well, Tyler, buddy, you're a game changer. Absolutely a game changer, not only in the U.S. but in so many lives of young girls and boys that you've helped throughout the years. I hope that you keep this up. I know it's a hard thing to do, but you've made some extraordinary, strides and accomplishments that you're changing the trajectory of lives here, right? In a generational way. So keep up the amazing work, guys. Please share this episode, because you could be a game changer in someone's life by just sharing this episode and letting somebody hear this. There might be somebody out there being trafficked that doesn't know about this organization that could ask for some help and find the courage to do so. So, my friend, thank you so much. Keep it up, my friend, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.